have previous minutes, student or school presentations, parent groups, open to the public, 3 minutes per speaker, superintendent's report, correspondence and board comments, personnel agenda, consent agenda. We'll have a second executive session, and then we'll adjourn the meeting. I do want to point out that there's two updates to the agenda from when it was first published on Friday. On item D of the personnel agenda, page 1, it is an unpaid special leave rather than an unpaid family medical leave. And then item F on the next page, page 2, create positions. There's an addition that reads, resolved that the Board of Education does hereby create an athletic coordinator position. May I have a motion for previous minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes of the previous regular board meeting.
Second.
Comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Do we have any students or school presentations tonight? Any parent groups? Okay. Recently, at one of our last meetings, we adopted a new policy in regards to public comments. Kenya's going to go over that policy before we move to that part of our agenda.
Public participation at board meetings. The Board of Education encourages public participation on school-related matters at board meetings. To allow for public participation, a single period not to exceed 60 minutes shall, unless waived by the board, be set aside during each board meeting. The period may be extended by a majority vote of the board. Persons wishing to address the board shall, prior to the public comment section of the meeting, place their names, contact information, organization represented, if any, and a brief description of their topics to be addressed on a form provided by the district. The board may, in its discretion, require that any group or organization wishing to address the board identify a single spokesperson. Further, the board may, in its discretion, permit persons who have not signed up to address the board. Time permitting, once those persons who have signed up have had the opportunity to speak. The board president will invite persons who have signed up to address the board. Persons addressing the board should state their name for the record and identify any group or organization that they represent. Speakers may comment on any matter relating to the district's business. Their presentation should be as brief as possible. No speaker will be permitted to speak for longer than 3 minutes or to speak more than once in any public comment section of the meeting. If a speaker is unable to finish his or her remarks within the 3-minute time frame, he or she may supplement them by submitting a written statement to the district clerk. A person may not yield his or her time to another speaker in order to extend the time for comment. The board president may recognize speakers on different topics before a repeat of topics. Neither the board nor the administration will engage in a dialogue or respond in public session to questions regarding personal or individual students. This is not an attempt to stifle public comments. Rather, it is done to protect the privacy rights of the individuals involved. The board encourages anyone who wishes to discuss a particular student or employee to utilize the procedures set forth in the district's complaint policy as follows during regular business hours. Public complaints about the school district will be directed to the proper administration personnel. Complaints about specific classroom practices shall be directed to the teacher concerned. If the matter is not settled satisfactorily, the complainant shall then contact the building principal. If there is no resolution on this level, the superintendent of schools or his or her designee shall be contacted. The superintendent shall refer to the issue to the board for final resolution if necessary. All matters referred to the superintendent and or the board shall be in writing. Concern registered directly to the board as a whole or to an individual board member shall be referred as soon as it is reasonably possible to the superintendent for investigation, report, and or resolution. All speakers and meeting attendees are to conduct themselves in a civil manner. Obscene language, libelous statements, threats of violence, statements advocating racial, religious, or other forms of prejudice, as well as disruptive conduct, including calling out, will not be tolerated. Speakers will address remarks to the board as a whole. Once all speakers who are going to be recognized have spoken or 60 minutes have elapsed, the president will close the public comment section of the meeting. The board is not required to, but the president and/or the superintendent may thereafter briefly respond to any of the public comments. There shall be no further public comment or dialogue regarding any responses that may be provided by the president and/or the superintendent. Questions and concerns from the public concerning matters which are not on the agenda will be taken under consideration and referred to the superintendent for appropriate action. The president shall be responsible for the orderly conduct of the meeting and shall rule on such matters as the time be allowed for public discussion and the appropriateness of the subject being presented. The president shall have the right to discontinue any presentation or take such other actions as may be appropriate to address the conduct that violates this policy or which otherwise interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Morea?
Moria and Mr. Baxter asked me to speak for them. Mr. Reel, I'm a third on the list there.
We would love to hear you speak, Mr. Reel. Welcome back to the board.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm representing my VFW post 666 here in Beacon, and they were representing their own respective posts. But in light of the presentation made by before concerning the veterans exemptions and the assent of the board to move it ahead for a public hearing, they asked me to thank you publicly, to say thank you very much for scheduling the public hearing. We as veterans appreciate being recognized. We're not looking for things, but we do appreciate the recognition. And so I just want to say thank you to the board.
Thank you. Mr. Stark?
Good evening, members of the board. I put down that I want to talk about science. Just a little background. I'm part of the New York State lead team that was with the program called Achieve in the development of the next generation of science standards. And as part of the New York State lead team, I get notifications all the time. Most recently, one from Ken Wagner at State Education Department, where at this upcoming Regents meeting, they're going to be discussing the New York State Strategic Science Plan, which is looks like that is what's going to be implemented in New York State, which will not be the next generation of science standards. It's something that's being developed by science teachers here in New York State. I'll forward a copy of that 45-page document to Dr. Walkley for her easy reading and perusal, just so she can familiarize herself with it. One other real brief topic, I'm not sure, you might have seen it in the paper recently before the Christmas break, is that the rental property up our 9D going north over by the stadium has been sold, and that's going to be going to Jehovah's Witness organization has bought that, and that will soon be coming off the tax rolls, something in the neighborhood of $300,000 to $400,000 in terms of school tax that would affect the Beacon School District. Just something to keep in mind as to how that will affect us probably in 2016.
Thank you.
Kim Atwell? You ready?
Good evening, everyone. Kim Atwell, teacher and BTA president. I wanted to share some information regarding some initiatives and programs we are working on currently in the district and also with the BTA. In the role as parent communicator, I've been working with Dr. Walkley and Mrs. Kellogg as well as the administrative team to establish parent nights, which will begin in the second semester. There will be a minimum of 6 parent night offerings, which will focus on a variety of pathways to success. The initial framework for the 6 offerings include the following, and not necessarily in this order: successfully navigating middle school and high school, the NCAA, scholarships, financial aid, sports programs, and club offerings, the truth about the purpose of the Common Core, bullying, including cyberbullying, Carly's Crusade, and addressing the needs of our immigrant students and families. There will be more information to follow as we get closer to the implementation process for the parent nights, and so everybody will be well informed. Secondly, regarding the BTA, on December 17th, the Beacon Parent-Teacher Partnership, BPTP, held its first meeting of the year, and I would like to thank all of our PTO, PTA, PTSO parents and officers who were able to attend, as well as Dr. Walkley, Mrs. Kellogg, Mr. Archer, and Ms. Jackson, who were able to attend as well. And we did get input from the administrators that were not able to be present, and some teachers as well. We are encouraging more teachers to participate, as we have recently added 3 new teachers to the committee. And if you recall, I did speak about this last year when we first started the initiative. And the purposes of the committee is to bring teachers, parents, administrators, and now we're trying to open it up to staff members as well, to share and collaborate, not only like ideas that are happening within the buildings and initiatives that are happening in the buildings, but new ideas, and to discuss the successful programs that each of the buildings are doing instead of in isolation. We're really trying to share those ideas together. And our next meeting is scheduled for February 4th at 6 p.m. An email will go out, and I know there's a couple of board members that are on that email distribution list as well. And now I have a really good note taker in Mrs. Kellogg, so thank you for the minutes that you took at the meeting. Appreciate that. And so some of the topics include the new Arts and Education BOCES COSER process that I am working as the liaison. I've been working with Meredith Hewer, and I did a presentation to the administrators last week to talk about the process of how we can best communicate the utilization of the BOCES COSER and how we can take some of our programs and fund it through the COSER. And Anne Marie has been a tremendous help along with Dr. Walkley as well. So those are some things that we're going to be working on and communicating out to the parents and as well as the staff. And also we'll be throwing some ideas around developing a resiliency fund that we can start to establish for our students. So there'll be more information to follow as well. So we'll keep getting some minutes out and some emails. And if you'd like to get on the committee, just to get the information, just shoot me over your email address, and I'll be sure to send up, include you as well. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. April Farley?
Good evening, Board. I'm April Farley. I'm a parent. I have a student here at the Beacon High School. I'm also a county legislator for the city of Beacon. I'm also on the Human Relations Commission as well as the NAACP. So I'm here this evening because October was Bullying Awareness Month, and working with the county, we did give out these posters for Bullying Awareness Month, and it was a really great campaign. However, just having a poster and having a campaign is just not enough, and so I'd just like to reiterate that I've been speaking with Honey Mikowitz, and we're going to be meeting with the high school this Thursday to actually talk about things that we can implement. They have grants, they have certain programs, there's certain steps that need to be taken. So what we're thinking about right now is working with the Board of Education, coming up with an auditorium, coming up with a venue whereas the students themselves don't feel isolated, and that they themselves can be able to call, and also the staff can actually have steps. So we're working on the steps, because when someone says to you that they are being bullied, sometimes you don't know what to say in response to that. But there should be some steps that we should take, maybe 1 through 10, and those are things that we're going to talk about on Thursday that we can implement. And then the other thing is that the Board of Ed, we really need to talk about having a mediator where the students can come to someone at the school and feel safe. If they can't come to the security guard, if they can't come to the staff or the administration, they need to have a safe place where they can actually talk about what's going on and how they feel. And in the current guidelines for the book that you guys have right now, it doesn't have a lot for mediation as far as discipline. And when you do have mediation, it reduces the rate of reoccurrences of disciplinary problems within the school. And those are things that Honey Mikowitz will be able to discuss and possibly implement. So I'm hoping that, the handbook can be revised, because currently right now when children are disciplined, it doesn't take into account their feelings, how they're feeling emotionally, their mental health status. And I'm hoping that when a child may come to an adult or someone else with a bullying issue, that they can actually be assigned someone from the mediation center. So for anyone out there who doesn't have the number, we should make it public, just like when you send out emergency emails or texts, that sort of thing. We should actually make it very public that the number is 471-7213. We don't want to call these people after the fact. We want to call them at that moment. And it doesn't matter if you don't believe the person. Let the person who's the mediator handle that situation, because we're not in the business of trying to handle something that we're not equipped to do. We have people at the county that are equipped to handle these things. Also, I just wanted to invite everyone to the NAACP March. I think it's important for the Board of Education to work with the community and to show that they can work together with the students as well as the community to come together and be unified. So I hope that the school and the board will actually be there for the march. There's so much actually going on, and I also wanted to just address outside of the mediation that I am available, to reach out to. As far as the mediation and as far as funding and that sort of thing, if you guys need more funding to address these type of issues because they're grant related, then you'd have to push that through. You have to let me know. You have to bring it to our attention, because we don't want to say to students, we don't have the funds for this, because this is very important. We don't want to discourage anyone from continuing school, dropping out, that sort of thing, or feeling isolated. And we don't want to have a continuation of the same thing over and over and over, generational situations. I know that I was just at a Human Relations Commission meeting, and there was a discussion that they wanted to know, is there a difference between how certain students are treated than other students? And they would like to speak with the board in regards to that and get data, because they want to make sure if someone is coming up and they have a situation that they are treated fair and equally.
Before you go, Ms. Riley, could you remind us when the march is?
That's going to be Monday, and that's going to be at 9:30. The march starts at 10, but the lineup is at 9:30, and that's going to be at Mattie Cooper at the Springfield Baptist Church.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And that's all I have for today. Thank you. You guys have a great day.
Aaron Garner.
Good evening, Board. My name is Aaron Garner. I'm a parent of 2 students in the school district. I just read and actually heard you reading the new policy that you guys read, so a lot of stuff that I wanted to talk about this evening, I really can't. But I would like to talk to somebody about the district's complaint policies and how do I go about registering complaints when I need to, when the issues come up, and then involving myself or my children, or issues that involve the board policies, and not necessarily board policy, but school policy. So is any way I can get that information after this, or do I have to come back to the school in the daytime to get that information?
No, we can give you that information after the public session, comment section is over. Then we'll answer any questions or give any of that information that we can. So if you can just wait for a few
Okay.
minutes.
All right, thank you.
Give that
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak that didn't have a moment to sign up on our list?
Good evening, Board. My name is Barbara McCaskill. I just wanted to make announcement. On the 19th, your school will be closed in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday. And there's always a big festive going on at the Springfield Baptist Church. I believe our legislator just mentioned that there will be a parade, and it will commence at 10 o'clock. That was introduced to us last year by Pete Seegers, the late Pete Seegers. And when he brought that to the attention of the group that organized the celebration every once a year for Dr. King, it was well received, and over 1,000 persons showed up in that very cold weather last year, and they marched for the 20 minutes in honoring Dr. Martin Luther King's celebration. So we are in hopes that they were able to get the information out to you early enough about the essay contest. I was told by one of the members who helped to organize, she's like the vice president of the coalition, the Southern Dutchess Coalition, and she said that all of the school has been notified in our Dutchess County about the essay contest that goes on for this particular celebration. And in that contest, they are supposed to write, I think, 500 words or more about Dr. Martin Luther King and whatever theme they select. And I believe the theme they selected has to do this year with, I think that's Where Are You Now, and what is the future of your destiny. And that's a very wide topic for Dr. King, but we are hoping that the students did respond, because there will be scholarship handed out at this particular presentation on the 19th. I hope to see you guys show up and see the kids winning, whoever they are. So you have a good evening. And the policies that we do want you to look into is the policies you have on discipline. That's the school needs to have a good flex type of disciplinary procedures for students who are not in compliance. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? Thank you.
I'm going to ask Anne Marie to share some information about the land that was purchased. She found out a little bit of information about that.
So there was property that was sold December 1st, the Rivercrest Apartments, which is in the town of Fishkill. And I spoke to the assessor's office about that. And currently there are tenants in that apartment complex. The Jehovah's Witnesses did purchase that, and they are in the process of not renewing the leases. We did get a couple of phone calls from parents whose children are currently in the school district that are trying to look for another apartment to live in. Between now and March 1st would be any time would be an application for tax-exempt property. The assessor does not believe that they have the ability at this point to ask for tax-exempt, so that would be the property would stay status quo for the upcoming budget, 15-16. The following year, if I think their intention may be to use it as housing for the Jehovah's Witnesses, they are looking at a piece of property next to it to purchase to possibly make a Kingdom Hall, which is the site of their site of worship. If that happens, then they can apply for tax-exempt status. If they are granted it, that then will come off the tax rolls. And I kind of like Mr. Stark's estimate of the taxes. Unfortunately, it's more than $320,000. It's closer to between 5 and 7. So once we get to that point, but if that property was to come off the tax rolls, that portion of the taxes would get reallocated to the rest of the district. So I'll keep everyone informed as soon as I know anything more.
I wanted to mention that we actually have been meeting with the Hudson Valley, I believe it's Hudson Valley Center for Mediation, and we have a meeting this week And we will have some principals there. Mrs. Kellogg will be there as well. And we are collaborating with them. As Mrs. Farley said, they do have some grant money this year, particularly for elementary and middle school. And we will be conducting a survey for a program called ALOIS, which is an acronym of which I cannot tell you which all the letters stand for, but it is a nationally recognized program for bullying, and we're very excited to be able to meet with them and move forward. And we do have some grant money already in the district that will be looking to purchase materials for the ALOIS program. And so we've already started, and we want to move forward as a district so that there's not one thing in one school and something else in another school, but that we are aligned and moving forward. So we're looking forward to that meeting. And we have informed the principals about the essay contest. So that went out quite a bit earlier this year, so we're ready for that. And I think that's all I'm going to respond to. The complaint policy. The complaint policy, part of the complaint policy was read a little bit earlier. It depends on what level you are in. If you have a complaint about a teacher, then that information needs to go directly to the teacher. If you're not satisfied, it could then go to the principal level. If it's a complaint about a principal, talk to the principal. Once it gets to the principal's level and you're not satisfied, you can call my office, and the discussion would then be with either Mrs. Kellogg and or myself. And if you're not satisfied there, we would bring...
ready to write.
Yes, we would bring in writing to the board, and there would be information from the board. So it depends on what level, and if you need more information, I'll be glad to catch up with you. Or you may call my office. I'd be glad to talk with you.
Are these policies available online?
Yes. Yes.
And I guess if someone didn't have access to a computer, they could call Kelly, and she could provide them with a copy of the policy?
Yes. And as far as looking at the discipline policy, that's very timely because the board committee is reviewing all of our policies. So the discipline policy is one that will be reviewed. I don't know if it's the next time we meet because we have a whole book of policies to look at, but we'll note that that's one that you're interested in.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Superintendent's report.
Yes, for my report this evening, if you'll pass that down, I have put together a visual of some goals that we are working on in the district. When I started this summer, there were 3 plans that were due in the district. There was a district level plan and a plan for the middle and high school, because at that time we were still identified as a focus school. So what I've put together, I hope there's enough. Maybe we can share it. Yeah. The grant for that ALOIS program, I've been told, is just for this year.
So we need to do something for the high schools? Because we can't do
that. So I wanted to share these goals because much of the work that happens at the board meeting, much of the items that are approved either through personnel or contracts, etc., relate to these goals. These goals represent, in a very broad form, the goals for the entire district. So you see in the middle the board mission, the district vision, and organizational values, and that's part of our plan. That's something that the board has been working on. And there's a square around all of the circles, and the squares represent a culture of care and respect, which is a goal that is a follow-up from the Dropout Forum, but actually also was a goal that came from the work this summer from the committees that had representatives from the community, from the school district, administrators, teachers, etc. Mrs. Atwell this evening spoke about some of the collaboration that's going on with parents, and parent involvement is a huge piece of this particular plan, as well as earlier this year there was a new position to Beacon called a TOSA, which stands for a Teacher on Special Assignment. And as you can see, if you're looking at 12 o'clock on this visual, part of the work that the TOSAs are doing this year is they've just completed an audit of our AIS programs, or programs for helping students. And we've learned a lot about our programs and some of the needs of the program. And if you look more at 7 o'clock, you will see the TOSAs again deliver in-class supports to teachers. One of the things that's happening is we know that we have teachers that need some help with curriculum, some strategies, etc. And the teacher on a special assignment is the person that puts the legs, I always say puts the legs on instructional support, the support that is provided to the teacher right in the classroom. So tonight on the agenda you will see that we have some additional grant money. We are actually hiring now a third TOSA to help with this particular project in providing services to students and teachers right in the classroom. So that's very exciting. You will also see on here, for example, one of our goals is the parent portal. We have moved in beyond phase 1, we're into phase 2, and phase 3 will be the parent, training the parents, and that will be also aligned to the evenings, the parent evenings that Mrs. Atwell was talking about, where we will have parents come in, get their PIN, try out, and make sure that they can get into the parent portal. So you will see those parent evenings scheduled this second semester of school. It'll be a phase-in. We will start with the high school and work our way backwards. All of our, you will see that we're working in all of our schools to revitalize a program called PBIS, which is positive behavior supports for students with positive behavior and kind of decreasing some of the negative behavior that happens. So every night that we come together as a board, there are multiple things that are within the board agenda and the personnel agenda that relate to this. And so I'm going to save this visual. I will be referring to it as we go forward so that we can connect the pieces. These are not isolated hiring that we're doing. They're all connected to these plans that we have sent to the state. And that's the end of my report, unless you have some questions.
I have one question. What does CI stand for? That was the only
Thank you.
abbreviation that I didn't know.
Continuous improvement. CI is continuous improvement. It's just too long to write in those little
I needed
circles.
that one too.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any other questions? Thank you, Dr. Oakley. Do we have any board comments tonight?
Can I just make a comment based on the bullying prevention program that you mentioned? I'm familiar with that program, and I'm glad that we're looking into it, because it's not only encompasses like the school community, but there's a portion of it that does reach out to community as well. So everything gets tied in together. So I'm glad, and I'm looking forward to hearing more information about that.
Any other comments tonight?
Several months ago, we were awarded the technology money, and I just wanted to ask the district to consider purchasing laptops for individuals that don't have laptops so that they can actually utilize them at home to help with all of like the NovaNet programs and stuff like that. So I'm asking for consideration for that. And I'm also asking community members or parents, family members, advocates, if they're interested, part of the action team, there's 4 of them that have to deal with the dropout, and I'm teamed up with Dr. Walkley, and so we are in need of more members on our action team, and our action team deals with creating a culture of care and respect. So we are the umbrella, we believe. So if you're interested, reach out to the board office because we need your help.
Thank you. Anyone else? I would just like to say thank you to Anne-Marie for your presentation tonight and for putting all those numbers together. We know that it was not an easy task with as many municipalities involved in Beacon City Schools. So thank you for providing that for us so that we can make informed decisions. We have a motion for the personnel agenda.
Motion to approve the personnel agenda items A through Y as attached.
Second.
Comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Dr. Walkley, would you like to make an introduction?
Right. We have actually 2 introductions this evening. First, I'm so pleased to introduce both of these people. The first introduction, I'll start with the lady. We have put into place a temporary position called an athletic coordinator, which is in the teacher contract, and Cindy Pomerico is going to be filling that position for about a month for us to fill in a little bit in the absence of an athletic director. So Cindy is here this evening, and thank you, Cindy, for being so brave. And
Are you telling me something that I'm not?
well, we'll find out. We'll find out. And sitting behind her is now our new athletic director, and actually it's the athletic director, the supervisor of nurses, the PE the, program, and I think everything else that I don't want to do, or Dr. Stevens doesn't want to do, kind of goes that way to Marty Nemechek, and Marty is in the back there, and he will be joining us in about a month. He has to give 30 days notice. So welcome to both.
If you could please come to the podium, Marty, and just say a few words. Our meetings are all televised, and we would like all of Beacon to see you and be able to welcome you when they see you in the buildings.
Well, I truly appreciate the opportunity to come to Beacon. I hope that I will bring some experience and some enthusiasm to the athletic department as well as the physical education and health staff here. I do welcome the opportunity to come to you and hope that it's a great working relationship. Dr. Waltke and I have already been in conversation. Cindy is going to be in my cell phone by the time I leave here. So it'll be hopefully it'll be a smooth transition, and I'm really looking forward to it, and I thank you for your confidence. Thank you.
Welcome.
Yes.
May I have a motion for the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda items 12.02 through 12.09.
Second. Comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. May I have a motion for executive session?
Motion to adjourn to executive session to review the employment history of a particular individual, and the board is not expected to take action after executive session.